Well, another Halloween is upon us. For that reason, I'm going to do a video of horror and Halloween related records. But first, we're listening to the Hex Dispensers Winchester Mystery House LP on Douchemaster Records. It's their second LP. Great punk band from Texas. Kind of remind me of a cross between the Ramones and the Misfits. Horror oriented for the most part, I guess. Sadly, no longer with us, though I have heard rumors that they have been doing shit again lately, so I hope so. Yeah, just kind of went with the mood of the thing. Now, I got this idea from Dennis over at Analog Archives. He did one of these videos a couple weeks ago. I've been meaning to do one, but I've been procrastinating. Eric Bauer did an awesome one in the meantime. I'm sure you're subscribed to both of them, but on the weird off chance that you're not, I will link them in the description below. Now, I was watching the Man Cave of Doom live stream. I think it was the most recent one. But they had the Barbecutioner on there from Chromium Dioxide Radio YouTube channel, which is also fucking awesome. And if you haven't seen it, you need to just turn this off and go see it now. I will link it in the description. He brought this show up. Like he's from Ontario. He brought this show up and spoke of it favorably, like most people my age probably will. It's a TV show. It is a national treasure as far as I'm concerned. Although I don't know how far out of Ontario it went, so maybe it's just a provincial treasure. It originated from CHCH TV in Hamilton, Ontario. Started in 1971. Talking about the hilarious House of Frightenstein. Now, I used to drag my ass out of bed every Saturday morning at 7 o'clock and glued myself in front of the TV to watch this thing. It was groundbreaking, very original. It was touted as a children's show, but it was pretty mature when it came to illusions of enjoying substances. Like, I feel that my 7-year-old self would have gained a lot by eating mushrooms before I watched this. It's that good. Basically, it was this guy, the Count, although this is just an artist's rendering. He's in Frightenstein Castle. He has a monster named Brucey, which is actually like a 7-foot-tall Frankenstein monster that just lays on a table, and his whole life's mission is to get Brucey back to life, and when he does, he's allowed to go back to Transylvania. So that's the underlying plot of it. But the show is just a series of, sketches featuring different characters. Like there's a librarian, there's a creepy witch that does a cooking show, there's an oracle, there's a wolf man that's a DJ at the radio station EECH, and just a cast of lesser characters. The cool thing about him is that this guy named Billy Van, who is a veteran of stage and screen in Canada, he played the Count, but he also played a good portion of the other characters. Like probably 95% of the characters in the show were done by Billy Van in different makeup and outfits. There was also a dwarf. Is that the term that we're allowed to say? A short guy. His name was Guy Big, but he played a 3-foot-tall version of him, but he would just make little cameos. No pun intended. There was a rumor that he had run into a gambling debt with the mob, and that he was now residing at the bottom of the harbor in Hamilton. But it came out later that he had died of an undisclosed illness in the hospital. There was an Igor to Billy Van's Count. He was a very large man. His name was Fishka Reyes. He was a jazz singer from South Africa. I don't know how he got the Igor gig, but he did, and he was great in it. He ended up dying a few years after this went off the air because he was one of the first Canadian recipients of gastric bypass surgery, and it ended up killing him. And then there was one of the producers on the show, Mitch Markowitz, who has actually signed my copy. He played some of the second-tier characters, like a hippie in a Superman outfit, and He played. He got in a gorilla suit and got hit in the head with a golf ball. I know this makes no sense to anyone that's never seen it, but see it. It's on YouTube. And then lastly, there was a science segment to the show that I was too young to really understand or be interested in, and none of my friends were either. But it was a guy named Professor Julius Sumner Miller. Apparently he was like the Bill Nye of his time, but he is like a humorless, creepy, stern-looking old man. He's scarier than most of the characters. But regardless, there's original episodes on YouTube. Vincent Price narrated all 109 episodes. He did on-screen intros to most of the character segments. Apparently he finished, everything he needed to do for 109 episodes. He finished in a couple weeks and then, pissed off back to wherever he was going. But yeah, Groove Vinyl was cool enough to release these. It's 4 different covers. They were pretty expensive when they came out, and they sold out really quick. I only got this one, but there's also an Igor, a Wolfman, a Vincent Price, and then the Count. If you got all 4 of them, they came with a tote bag. I didn't want to get a second mortgage to do that, but I'm happy with having just this one. If I see other ones, I'll pick them up along the way, but they don't turn up too often. Now, like I said, there's original episodes of that on YouTube. It was reissued onto DVD box sets. I have the first one here. Now, the guy that was instrumental in reissuing these is a guy named Stacey Case, who is from Toronto. He plays in a garage rock band called the Tijuana Bibles. I don't know if they still exist, but at the time he did, under the pseudonym The Blue Demon. He spearheaded, resurrecting this and keeping it going for everybody to see. Problem is, like I was saying before, the Wolfman was a DJ. On his segment of the show, he would play, topical, like current songs from that time. So, quite often you would hear like Jumpin' Jack Flash by the Stones, you'd hear Sugar Sugar by the Archies, and that kind of stuff. So when they went to try and reissue all this stuff, they had a hard time getting the rights to the music. And then there was a lot of just instrumental parts to the show where they couldn't locate who actually they couldn't find who owned the rights to that music. So what are you going to do? So his band actually redid a lot of the music from the show, which is super cool. Like, he went above and beyond the call of booty to do that. But for someone that, grew up actually watching it, you remember it the way it is, so it kind of is a little off-putting for you, but fucking good on him for doing it, because if ever a show needed preservation, it's Frightenstein. So yeah, definitely check it out. I'll have some links. It's fucking weird. So yeah, we'll go on to another TV show, although a more serious one, from 1966, Dark Shadows. It's a gothic soap opera. It was touted as such on ABC. This one's on Phillips Records. It revolved around kind of an aristocratic family, the Collins family. Their ancestor, Barnabas Collins, he comes a Collin, but he's a vampire, so it introduced a horror element to it, and some pretty wacky looking fucking werewolves. But yeah, I mean, way too deep and serious when I was a child, and now that I'm older, like, I have watched it a few times, still, dry, slow burn, but some of the parts in this are actually fucking cool. So, I don't know. It's got its moments, but it's definitely not something I would tell you to immerse yourself in. It's the Robert Colbert Orchestra featuring Jonathan Freed, who was Barnabas Collins, and David Selby, who played Quentin. Next, a recent pressing of a classic horror movie. It's William Lustig's Maniac. Goddamn Joe Spinell looking all freaky. Take off the pseudo Obi, as it were. Maniac probably doesn't need much introduction. This thing is a highly regarded classic fucking slasher murder fucking gross you out, seedy film. The music to it, performed by J.H. Hadaway. The music to it goes with the movie. It's gritty. It just makes you feel like you need to take a shower after you're done listening to it. Now, yeah, this is on Death Waltz. I don't normally buy soundtracks brand new. Most of the ones I have, I just randomly find at thrift stores and shit. But when something like Maniac pops up, I'll buy it. I mean, usually just soundtracks are so overpriced and, like, you know, unnecessarily. But, like I said, I will buy Maniac because why not? Next up, here's another case of that. It's a Waxworks release. Shockwaves, 1977 film. Freaked me out when I was a kid. I mean, you know, Nazi zombies, pretty much. I love the artwork on this. It's very well done. Got a gatefold here. All of them coming out of the water. Yeah, I've watched it more recently, and it, you know, obviously doesn't have the same impact it did when I was young. But when these things came out of the water when I was a kid, it was like, get the fuck out of here! I am going to bed. So yeah, Shockwaves. Couldn't resist it. Nostalgia, right? And here is another one, but for not the same reasons, I guess. It's a newer pressing of the soundtrack for this, but it's for a 1986 movie called Spookies. And I remember the ads coming for this on TV, and we literally laughed. Spookies. Like, what a stupid fucking name. Ranked right up there with The Boogans, which was also a shit film. This, apparently, like, I remember seeing the ads, but I never saw the movie. We just kind of laughed at it. And then more recently, I actually watched it, and it's a piece of shit too. Apparently, though, it's actually two films that were incomplete that they smushed together, which makes sense because the characters on each different incomplete film, they never interact in the movie. Like, it doesn't make any sense for them to be together like that. The only saving grace for the movie is that it actually does have some half-decently done monsters, and there's quite a few of them. But there are these, like, flabby, obese kind of zombie things that just continuously fart. I'm not kidding. That's fucking stupid, but brilliantly, funnily stupid. So, I don't know. Fucking Spookies. Music done by Ken Higgins and James Calabrese. Yeah. Definitely don't recommend the movie. The music's alright. It's like, you know, synthy new wave type shit. Next, something completely different. It's Jerry Goldsmith did the music for it, though. It's The Swarm, directed by Irwin Allen, who was apparently taking some time out from doing, like, you know, Skyscraper on Fire and, you know, earthquake movies and shit, natural disaster shit. Does The Swarm. Not necessarily your classic textbook horror movie, but what's more horrifying than being stung to death by fucking millions of bees? Our fucking killer bees are on the way. I remember that shit from when I was a kid. People legitimately stressed out over that. Like, oh, the fucking killer bees are in Texas, and they're on the fucking way up. They're gonna kill us. I'm still waiting. I want all of you to die by bee sting. No one. Now it's the murder hornets. Oh no. But yeah, it's The Swarm. Pretty banging cast on this, though. Had Michael Caine, Richard Widmark, Richard Chamberlain, Olivia de Havilland, Fred McMurray from My Three Sons, Bradford Dillman, Slim fucking Pickens. And Henry Fonda, that old poop. Yeah, he's in here too. But yeah, The Swarm. I see this everywhere. It's always super cheap. Get it, it's not bad. Next, from 1978, here's one a lot of people might not know of, although it was directed by Brian De Palma. The Fury. Music by John Williams. It's been a long time since I saw this. It's got Kirk Douglas, John Cassavetes, Charles Durning, Amy Irving, Andrew Stevens. If I recall correctly, it's kind of like a cross between Firestarter and Scanners. but it predates both of those films. Pretty sure, I'm not sure exactly when Scanners was done, but I think this is 1978. I think this was before Scanners. I think Scanners was like 1980 or something. But yeah, it's like I could see where Firestarter and Scanners were both influenced by this movie, but not a lot of people know it. I should watch it again. It's been a long time. Now we have, oh, here's one that everybody will probably know. 1976, The Omen. It's got what's that? Gregory Peck, Lee Remick, and that little bastard Damien. Yeah. I haven't watched this in a long time either, and I've meant to several times, but I've just never got around to it. I think maybe I will tonight. But, yeah. The Omen. Next up, here's one that got panned a lot when it came out, but I remember when it came out, and I watched it, and I liked it, and I watched it recently, and I still like it. It's got some cheesy shit going on, but I still like it. It's the 1979 version of Dracula with Frank Langella as Dracula. It's also got Laurence Olivier, Donald Pleasance, Kate Nelligan. Yeah, music by John Williams. I don't know. For some reason, I like this one. I always have. I've heard people bag on it. I don't give a fuck. I still like it. There's another one everybody knows and most people like. It's got the darkest cover the world's ever seen. The Return of the Living Dead. This was just repressed. I've seen it, but this is an original pressing, so I don't need to buy the new one. It's got the most annoying punch-out, though, right on the fucking spine. That's just irritating. Yeah, I mean, you really can't go wrong when your soundtrack's got, like, The Cramps, 45 Grave, TSOL, Flesh Eaters, Rocky Erickson, The Damned, SSQ, which has Stacy Q, a young Stacy Q from Thief of Hearts. You know you fucking like it. But yeah, Return of the Living Dead. More brains, please. Here's one that none of you will probably know. It's a 1980 film, The Awakening. Now, the reason I'm even familiar with this is because I remember this being in ads in comic books at the time it came out. And I wanted to see it because I like the image. But then it just disappeared. And I guess it didn't make shit at the box office. No one ever spoke of it again. And then just in the last, couple of years, I saw it in, on a download torrent list or something. And I downloaded it. Yeah, it's a piece of shit. I thought it was going to be fucking crazy mummy killing people, but it's a mummy basically possessing someone that kills people. It's fucking silly. It's got Charlton Heston in it, Susanna York, Stephanie Zimbalist, who, was she not on Heart to Heart or something? But yeah, The Awakening. Soundtrack's not bad. Both the cover and the soundtrack are better than the movie. Here's another one that people will think's a piece of shit, but I'm kind of indifferent on. It's a 2018 Halloween. I like the cover. I like the price. It was like $10. Movie, Jamie Lee Curtis becomes kind of a survivalist, rigs her house to make it kind of Michael-proof. Whatever. Is what it is. I wasn't expecting anything super crazy, especially in 2018. There he is. But, yeah, whatever. Is what it is. And we got, this is kind of a different one. It's a studio group called Miko that were, led by a guy who was a producer. I can't even recall what his name is. But he made a studio group under the name of Miko. I have another one of their records where they do Close Encounters of the Third Kind. This one is Impressions of an American Werewolf in London. Where they just redo the music, the song Blue Moon's on it. They do Blue Moon, it's just whatever. It's like a covers record. I love An American Werewolf in London from 1981. I mean, if you're not super familiar with, or you're trying to get into horror movies and that, watch it. It's got some comedy elements, but fuck is it a good movie. The transformation scene is top notch. I mean, David Naughton, Griffin Dunn, Jenny Agutter, or Agutter, I don't know how you pronounce it. Yeah, John Landis directed it. That's a fucking great movie. Watch it. But do not watch An American Werewolf in Paris. At least not first. It sucks. But if you watch it first, it'll just spoil your appetite for it. I mean, this is legitimately, arguably, the best werewolf movie ever. Like, The Howling's good. I think this one's better, even though The Howling is more of a horror movie, where this is kind of a horror comedy in a way. Dog Soldiers is also fucking great. That might be better than this. But, good movie. And here we have the last of the horror soundtracks, I guess. It's Themes from Horror Movies by Dick Jacobs and his orchestra on Coral Records. So themes from the old-timey horror movies. You get Horror of Dracula, The Deadly Mantis, House of Frankenstein, The Mole People, The Creature Walks Among Us, Revenge of the Creature, Tarantula, and This Island Earth. It's in ghoulish high fidelity. Got this little fucking graveyard imp hanging out. Yeah. Kind of cool. Just saw it going through a guy's box of records at a show. Got it cheap. Here's one I think Dennis showed, and I kind of want to say this is the one where he had never seen anyone else with a copy. I think this is the one. If it is, here's a guy that has a copy, Dennis. It's the Sounds of Terror, the horror hit Monster Mash. Listen to this horror if you dare. The Scary Fun records from Pickwick. So yeah, horror, madness, terror. Yeah. Kind of a cool cover. And here's the one where, you know, anybody who sees it, I have this, are like, I had that when I was a fucking kid. Because everybody had this when they were fucking kids. The Chilling, Thrilling Sounds of the Haunted House by Disney. Night Creatures, Haunted House, The Dungeon, The Witches, blah 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 blah. Definitely looks very Disney. But yeah, everyone had this record. This one's in bang up condition though. It didn't look like anyone's ever touched it. But then here's kind of a weird one because it's also put out by Disney, and it's also Chilling, Thrilling Sounds of the Haunted House. And when I saw it, it's also in bang-up shape. But when I saw it, I thought it was just like a cover variant of that last record. But it's actually a completely different record, just with the exact same name, which is kind of puzzling. It's got the haunted house, the very long fuse, the dogs. Like, I mean, I think it still has some of the same things, but it's definitely not the same record. Here we go. Oh yeah, Halloween Horrors, The Sounds of Halloween. The A-side's a story called Halloween Horror. The B-side is The Sounds of Halloween, and other useful effects. The introduction by Peter Cullen, who I believe is the guy that did the vocals for Optimus Prime in the original Transformers animated series. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. So yeah, kind of cool. 3 witches hanging out at the cauldron. There's fucking bats creeping up on them. Now we got famous ghost stories with scary sounds. It's got, like, you know, the Headless Horseman, the Telltale Heart, the Railroad Signal Man, on and on. Some pretty cool back illustrations. The Headless Horseman up there. Yeah, that's it. Here's some old radio shows. This is from one called The Weird Circle. It's Frightenstein and the Telltale Heart. I've got quite a bit of old radio shit, but it usually just comes on cassette. But I have a few records with that stuff on it. I'm fascinated by old radio. I mean, it was, you know, essentially the same as TV today, but people, you know, they sat around that shit religiously because it was like fucking state of the art to them. Like, goddamn radio. It's like, fuck, I don't even own a radio. Yeah, it's got, like, you know, Sergeant Preston of the Yukon you can get from this same label, which is Golden Age Records. Yeah, that cover illustration's kind of gnarly. See, yep, another, I think this is also a radio show thing. It's The Telltale Heart, dramatic readings by James Mason with Buddy Cole at the organ. I'm not sure that I've ever even listened to this, but it's The Telltale Heart. I don't know if Annabelle Lee and Silence are two other stories that he's reading, but could be. And then you have Sorry, Wrong Number, read by Agnes Moorehead, who I believe was the meddling mother-in-law on the Bewitched series. I think her name was Endora on the series, but I think that's Agnes Moorehead, I think. James Mason, he's a celebrated actor, well known. But, yeah, I found this at a garage sale once. Now, oh fuck, I forgot to show this. This is actually one of the coolest things I have that's of a horror nature. It's a not for sale promotional record for Dario Argento's Deep Red, aka the Deep Red Hatchet Murders. I found this at like a used media store, probably 25 years ago at least. It's the same on both sides. I thought it was cool. I love the artwork. I had seen the movie. I was familiar with Argento. So I was like, yeah, I'm buying that. How much you want? He was like $2. And I was like, sold. And I've had it ever since. I always forget that I have it. And then I'll stumble across it while I'm looking for something. And I'm kind of in love with it all over again. It's, I can get it out of here. Yes. Music by Goblin. Yeah, fucking shit. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I've never seen another copy of it. I have some other Goblin records, but they're kind of newer ones. Whereas this is pleasantly old. This is, what, 1975? Yeah, I guess this was done in 75. Just a couple more. This just goes to the actual non-soundtrack. This is just music. It's the Fat Boys. Are you ready for Freddy? On Polygram. I'm sure everybody remembers this. It was on Much Music all the time, and I'm sure it was on MTV all the time. Freddy was, he was the shit back then. I was never as huge a fan of Freddy as a lot of people were, but I get it. And speaking of Freddy, we'll go to Nightmare on Elm Street 3 with Dokken's 12-inch for Dream Warriors. Special shout out to Pat from Ground Zero Salem, because I know he loves this shit. Don't see this one too often. Got it for just a few bucks. Dokken's one of those kind of hair metal, which I know is kind of stupid because most metal bands had hair, but you know, that glam rock kind of thing that always got a pass. They just, stylistically, they were kind of like that, but they just weren't so, you know, cornball hedonism, you know, type bullshit. Yeah, Dream Warriors. And lastly, I'm going to end it. I started with what I consider to be a national treasure. I'm going to end with what I consider to be a national treasure. That being SCTV. The 4-song mini LP from Count Floyd. Played so eloquently by Joe Flaherty. This record has, like, you know, Count Floyd trying to rap. This is, like, probably the super early days of rap. I don't know what the year is on this. But, yeah, it's entertaining. People freak the fuck out when they see that I have this. I don't know that it's particularly rare. I've never seen another copy, but that's not saying much. But yeah, people legitimately freak out when I show this record. They've never seen it before, so yeah. It's got the gory story of Dwayne and Debbie, Treat You Like a Lady, which is, I've seen the video for that before on Much Music. Reggae Christmas Eve in Transylvania, and Count Floyd is back. So yeah, that's gonna wrap this up. Did the best I could. I'm certainly not the best guy to talk to about you know, in depth about movies. That's something reserved for people way more qualified than I. But I gave it a shot. So I hope everybody has a good Halloween. I know it kind of, if you have kids, I mean, that sucks because COVID fucked Halloween for them. Like, I remember when I was a kid, going up for Halloween was awesome. Now kids can't even do it. You can't eat candy. You can't get candy at a fucking parade. You can't go out for Halloween because of COVID. It's bullshit. But I guess it's better than dying or even getting sick. So I'm going to do what I do every year since I have no kids. Knock on wood. yeah, I just picked out a little stack of movies that I haven't watched in forever, and I'm gonna watch them. I'll even show those right now before I go, just because I can. I'm gonna watch me some Maniac. Haven't watched it in a while. It's a classic. Got my snazzy tin box collection. I'm gonna watch The Descent, because being in their situation would fucking suck, and the monsters in this are actually pretty cool. I'm gonna watch Scarecrows, because I haven't seen it in a long time, and I kind of forgot that I had it on DVD. I'm gonna watch The Prowler, because it's a classic and it's pretty fucking awesome, and I haven't watched it in a long time. And I'm gonna watch Naked Blood, because I don't know anybody else that's ever even heard of this movie unless I've, shown it to them. I bought it at a booth in a mall that was just overflowing with bootleg shit from all over the world, particularly Asian countries, as this one is. Yeah, if you've ever actually heard of this movie, let me know, because I have not met one person besides myself that's ever seen this movie, unless of course I showed it to them. Anyways, enough babbling on my part. I'm going to eat tacos. So, yeah, have yourselves a good Halloween and a good weekend. Cheers.